Another year, another failed Valentine's Day. So much for this. I can't even get a proper date, even during a pandemic. But you know what? Fuck Valentine's Day, because it's time for the podcast that houses a safe space for casual, cold, and dumb takes on the world of professional wrestling and sports. Open up that fridge and grab that very cold lasagna with your host, me, DylanLasagna. Hello everyone, and welcome to a brand new episode of the Very Cold Lasagna podcast, and actually it's a special edition of this show today. I am your host, DylanLasagna, and I gotta start off by saying on this show, I tried to get a date on Valentine's Day, even in quarantine, but obviously I failed. Regardless of my efforts, even in the pandemic, I failed. So, even with these nice pair of roses and with this nice shirt, I don't know what it is. I failed. I failed, you guys. I couldn't secure a date on Valentine's Day on whatever dating site or going outside looking nice like with these roses, or I don't know. So, you know what? Forget Valentine's Day. Let's embrace Single Awareness Day and put these two things straight in the garbage. And for those of you listening to the audio version, I just pretty much tossed a bunch of red roses and a white shirt in the trash. So that's that. But what better time to introduce a new fixture on this show than on Valentine's Day? That's actually what we're going to get into. Introducing a new fixture that's not really new, but we're going to bring it into the fold here on this channel. And that thing is retro reviews. Now, I don't know how often I'm going to do these retro reviews, but it's a pretty dry period, especially now that the NFL offseason is underway, and I'm not really too keen on other sports like the NBA or hockey or even the college sports and all that. And wrestling is also, like, modern wrestling is also kind of eh. So why not do something special on Single Awareness Day, aka Valentine's Day? And that is bring in retro reviews, which I'm kind of dubbing the Old Icebox. Opening the deepest of the fridge and looking through the archives of the past, mainly with old wrestling shows, and sometimes I will review like past football games on occasion, or like past events, whether it's in wrestling or on football, like from big blasts from the past, whether it's good or bad. So this is the first edition of the Old Icebox, this first retro review. And again, as a casual, all the takes that I have, all the nostalgia that's gonna be here, it'll be mixed. It'll be different from everyone's trip down memory lane. It might be new to some of you. A lot of this we're going to take a look at is certainly going to be new to me. So, with that out of the way, let's go right into the deepest, darkest part of the fridge and go into the Old Icebox, because we're going to kick off this retro review fixture of the Very Cold Lasagna podcast by taking a look at the 1999 February WWF pay-per-view that took place on February 14th. Yes, on Valentine's Day, 1999, St. Valentine's Day Massacre in your house. This pay-per-view was, when I watched it for the first time, like in whole, besides the main event, it was kind of iffy. It was kind of, I was like, I wasn't sure what was going on here. There wasn't too many promos going on other than them promoting the main event, because that was pretty much the whole night was centered around the main event between Stone Cold Steve Austin and Mr. McMahon inside a steel cage. Because if Austin won, Stone Cold would go to WrestleMania and face whoever the WWE champion was. Some of you casuals might know, but Stone Cold Steve Austin at the time during WWF's, that was WWE back then, was one of the hottest wrestlers in the company during the WWF's biggest and like booming period, like besides the 1980s, the Attitude Era, where they were edgier, grungier, and bloodier, like what have you, like all those edgier terms that you can describe. It was a really good time to be a wrestling fan back in the late 1990s. Obviously, being born in the late 1990s, like I think I was like 2 years old when the Attitude Era first started, so I was still a big baby when the Attitude Era first started. And again, as I mentioned in the pilot episode, I didn't get my hands on wrestling till 2006, and I didn't see portions of the Attitude Era till I first discovered YouTube. So let's talk about Saint Valentine's Day Massacre. Obviously, this took place on February 14th, 1999, so on Valentine's Day. So it was a little bit over 20 years ago. Like a little bit over 20 years ago, 22 years ago exactly now. And this was the final In Your House event. And the In Your House events were like monthly pay-per-views. Before the monthly pay-per-views became a thing, In Your House served as a way to counter World Championship Wrestling's monthly pay-per-views. So the WWF was offering like In Your House monthly pay-per-views, like 2 to 3 hour monthly pay-per-views that weren't like WrestleMania, SummerSlam, Survivor Series. Back in the day, like, it's like B-C tier shows, if you like to call it, for a reasonably low price of $15. So interesting. So this was the last one. The last In Your House before last year when NXT TakeOver had a In Your House thing because, the pandemic in June 2020. So the interesting thing about the name St. Valentine's Day Massacre, the event name alluded to something that happened in 1929. It was like a murder of the same name. So a little bit about the murder. The St. Valentine's Day Massacre of 1929. So it involved 7 members and associates of Chicago's North Side Gang, an Irish-American criminal organization. They were assassinated by 4 mysterious assailants dressed as police officers. And this was during like this huge gang war during the Prohibition, the Depression era. Again, this was part of a big gang war between gangsters Al Capone and Bugs Moran. Some of you may know Al Capone. I've heard the name before, but I'm not too keen on Capone, but it's a name I've heard before. I don't know if you guys have. As with the show itself, St. Valentine's Day Massacre, I think I mentioned this already. The matches itself weren't special. I mean, other than the steel cage match, which we'll get into. But a lot of this show had a lot of story, like not in terms of in-ring action. This show was more so about story progression, and that's really what it was back in the day. Like story progression, character development, like advancement, like moving things along. And obviously, with every there's only one pay-per-view a month for the WWE or WWF. So this is the last one before WrestleMania 15. So at least there were some moving parts here. Now, there's a lot of matches here that I had no clue had taken place besides the steel cage match. So it was going to be an interesting card. It was going to be an interesting card going in super blind, not knowing what the hell is going to happen. And I was kind of in for a treat. Starting with this opening match. Goldust versus the Blue Meanie, who was going by the gimmick, Blue Dust. So what was going on here is that the Blue Meanie started intimidating Goldust's gimmick of this, blue movie star. To this day, I'm still trying to figure out what Goldust's gimmick was back in the day. So I think on the Saturday edition of Raw, Goldust lost a match to Gilbert. That, some of you may know Gilbert, that parody of Goldberg back in the day, except he's Gilbert skinnier than Goldberg. And then after the match, the Blue Meanie sent down blue paint and spilled it all over Goldust on the Saturday before this pay-per-view. So that pissed Goldust off a lot. And during this match, it was pretty short. This match was pretty short. And it's pretty short, simple, to the point, where Goldust had a lot of majority of the offense, and he was just pissed off that Blue Dust was stealing his gimmick. He was committing gimmick infringement, and the only time you saw Blue Meanie get a form of offense was when he was humping Goldust's leg twice. And he tried, I don't know what he was trying to do here. Was he trying to do a figure four or something? But he was just shaking his hips around Goldust's leg, and then he even humped it. But after the second time, Goldust spanked him around the ring. And he tried to go for the Shattered Dreams in the corner, where Goldust spread his legs on the second turnbuckle. And then he's going to kick him in the nuts. That's his Shattered Dreams signature move. But the Meanie reversed it. And then the Meanie tried to go for a moonsault, but Goldust tried to got out of the way. And he hit his curtain call finisher, which is like a half reverse suplex, but he just lifts him and then slams him to the ground. And then he won the match. And then, to please the crowd and to finally get his revenge, he kicked Blue Meanie, Blue Dust, in the dick by hitting Shattered Dreams. So, I guess it was a simple opener. I mean, nothing memorable, but I guess it caused like some semblance, some conclusion to that storyline. And Goldust finally got his revenge in the opening moment, and the crowd got off to a happy start with Goldust getting them hyped up. So now we go on to the Hardcore Championship between at the time he wasn't Hardcore Holly, he was Bob Holly, and Al Snow. And well, obviously it's for the Hardcore Championship. It's got to be a hardcore match. So, some of you may know Road Dogg, Jesse James. He was a member of one of the most famous tag teams in WWE history, D-Generation X. Road Dogg was supposed to defend his title here at this event, but in storyline, he was attacked backstage on that Saturday edition of Raw, and he had to vacate it. So somewhere in that night, the Job Squad members Al Snow and Bob Holly were fighting with each other because Bob Holly was kind of like dumbfounded that Al Snow was fighting himself. Yeah, that's weird. So, as expected in a hardcore match, these two were just going at it with each other. They were fighting all over the arena. They broke they broke and threw so many things at each other, like floor tiles, mops, trash bins, and Bob Holly even hit a parking sign onto Al Snow. So they made their way outside the arena. They were at it was called the Pyramid, back in Memphis in 1999, and it was cold as it looked. Obviously, being February, it was cold as hell. So they went all the way near the Mississippi River. Apparently, that's where Jerry Lawler and Michael Cole were We're telling the viewers, and they were battling near the Mississippi River, and they threw their near naked bodies inside that cold ass water. Like, are they freaking crazy? It's one thing where for example, in 2006, John Cena threw Edge in the Long Island South, where it was in the summertime though. That was in the summer, but here, Bob Holly and Al Snow threw each other in the Mississippi River, where the water was cold as hell in the winter time. They probably had hypothermia after that. They probably had to get like a blanket backstage when they had to, like, after that match. They probably had to get hot chocolate, or I don't know, to like get their body back to their like proper temperature. So Bob Holly like strategically won the match and the vacant hardcore title by trapping Al Snow in a nearby chain link fence. So this was like obviously not like the hardcore matches of today. I mean, obviously the ones you see today are a bunch of like table spots or like super flips and kicks and all that, but you're getting a lot of like even crazier weapons being used here, and again going outside to freaking throw each other into the cold ass water. I think that was like the best spot of the match. The best spot of the match was just Bob Holly and Al Snow throwing each other into the cold ass Mississippi River. So Bob Holly wins this match. I thought it was all right for that hardcore title match. Maybe if if they have all those hardcore matches on the Peacock streaming service, then I'll probably see much better ones. So next we had Big Boss Man versus Midian. So what's going on here is that two of the biggest stables at the time were at war for control of the WWF. Those two stables being Mr. McMahon's, in character, Vince McMahon's corporation going up against the Undertaker's Ministry of Darkness. So honestly, I didn't know who was the face or the heel, who was the good stable, who was the bad stable, because both stables act as heels. Like the corporation is trying to like beat up on all the baby faces, especially Steve Austin, and the Ministry of Darkness at the time was still relatively new. Like Undertaker was still trying to recruit people in, so we didn't really have a clue what the hell they were trying to do. But Mr. McMahon had to send the Big Boss Man, the corporation's enforcer, because everyone else was either doing something else on the side, or everyone else was too scared to do it. So not a lot happened during this match. Everything else notable happened afterwards. Big Boss Man won with the sidewalk slam. But after that, as Big Boss Man was ready to fight the entire ministry in the ring with his nightstick in hand, the Undertaker's music hit and the lights went dark. And when the lights were dark, the ministry attacked Big Boss Man. And when the lights came back on, the ministry was ready to abduct him under orders from the Undertaker. So the commentators were wondering, where the hell are they going to take him? Where the hell are they taking Big Boss Man? So that post-match segment was a good segue, a good setup for what was to come between Undertaker and Big Boss Man. Well, I don't know about the match though, but it set them up for a collision course towards WrestleMania 15. So then we get the WWF Tag Team Champions, Jeff Jarrett. Oh, I totally forgot Jeff Jarrett was in the WWF at this time. The only place I remember Jeff Jarrett was in TNA, Total Nonstop Action. That's the only time I remember Jeff Jarrett in wrestling was in TNA. I did not remember Jeff Jarrett back in in the Attitude Era. OTRS is probably gonna throw a fit when he hears Jeff Jarrett in this podcast. So the WWF Tag Team Champions, Jeff Jarrett and Owen Hart. I didn't know Owen Hart had a tag team with Jeff Jarrett, but nonetheless, they defended their titles against D'Lo Brown and Mark Henry. So what's going on here is that Mark Henry had a character that was at his besides the Hall of Pain that happened way after the Attitude Era back in 2011. So he had his first peak. He was at his first peak during the Attitude Era, during the 1999, with his sexual chocolate gimmick. He was like a ladies' man, so he was pretty much getting all the he was trying to flirt with all the ladies. He was trying to flirt with Deborah. He was trying to flirt with Chyna. But when he flirted with Deborah, Jeff Jarrett, it was just a ruse. Because Jeff Jarrett attacked them on an edition of Raw. So when that happened, as they were preparing to go up against Jarrett and Hart, D'Lo Brown introduced Henry to this new girl named Ivory. And I'm like, interesting. So this tag team match kind of exemplified how simple things were back in the day. It kind of exemplified how much emphasis was on the actual tag team wrestling, not all these super spot monkey moves, but on tag team chemistry, much simpler tag team chemistry, Jeff Jarrett and Owen Hart having good teamwork, actually exhibiting good teamwork, along with Mark Henry and D'Lo Brown through their strength and power. They got to exhibit their teamwork, and then Jeff Jarrett and Owen Hart having a large majority of the offense during the match by being dirty heels. So near the end, D'Lo Brown finally got the hot tag on Mark Henry, who just went away at Jarrett and Hart. But near the end, when D'Lo Brown tried to win the tag team titles, he was trying to go for his low down finisher. I think from what I seen, it was this high flying move. I don't know if it was gonna be a frog splash or just a he was gonna fly off the top rope or something. Deborah went up the steel steps and touched him. It was hey baby, hey baby. And D'Lo Brown had looked from behind what are you doing? That's when Ivory came in, who Jerry Lawler mentioned that if Deborah got involved, Ivory would take off all her clothes. Did I hear that right? Who would rip off all her clothes? I'm okay. So Ivory and Deborah are arguing, and D'Lo Brown and Mark Henry are trying to restore order, but while Mark Henry has Owen Hart pressed up in the air, no, not Owen Hart, but Jeff Jarrett Owen Hart hits Mark Henry with the guitar and breaking it between his legs. So that allows Jeff Jarrett to lock in the figure 4, and Henry taps out. Now keep in mind, when they broke the guitar, the referee was distracted, and obviously the referee's being stupid. They were like, what just happened? What just happened? But yeah, Jeff Jarrett and Owen Hart retained the tag team titles via, dirty methods. So overall, a nice little tag team match here. And I like the little story elements here too. Like how Michael Cole touched on how many women Mark Henry already encountered with his gimmick, and how Deborah really knows how to get attention. Like, literally, she was all over this match. She was just like, they focused her on so many times, and she got involved with the finish. So clearly, I don't think this feud was over with come WrestleMania. I'm assuming. So then we get to the Intercontinental Championship match between Ken Shamrock and Val Venus. And by the end of this match, I kind of had mixed feelings. But watching the pre-match promo, it was very interesting. This kind of exemplified the definition of Valentine's Day here. This really did. This was the match. This is the match promo that really exemplified Valentine's Day. So Val Venus, whose gimmick was that of an adult porn star. Hello, ladies. So he was having a storyline with Ken Shamrock's, sister, not really sister. He's just playing. It's just a actress playing as Shamrock's sister, Ryan. But let me just say first, I don't know why, or how. I'm not sure what kind of girl's name is Ryan, but I mean, just bear with me. It's just kind of weird. That's just kind of weird. So anyway, Val Venus is hitting and even banging on Ken Shamrock's not really sister, Ryan, and they even filmed this pornographic film, Val Venus filmed, called Saving Ryan's Privates. Now obviously, if you don't get the parody, go look it up on Wikipedia. So Ken Shamrock, although he promised to keep his cool because obviously he's trying to be a protective yet calm brother to his sister, he saw this film. He saw this happen. He saw Venus being too flirty with Ryan, and he completely lost it over the next several weeks leading up to St. Valentine's Day. And he started hitting Venus with a chair at one point, and then he attacked a bunch of referees during one of Venus's interviews leading up to the event, and it scared all the referees. And Earl Hebner, the senior referee in the WWF at the time, he was like, "We're not officiating this event. Everyone's scared to do it. We're scared of what Ken Shamrock's gonna do to us if if Venus gets his hand or does anything flirty again with Ryan, or screw you. We're not officiating this match." So no one wanted to officiate this match. Someone had to officiate it, and the only one willing, badass Billy Gunn. So we get into this match, and Venus, obviously being his freaking porn star self, he comes out with Ryan in a very skimpy outfit, and the cameraman at one point during Venus's entrance focused on Ryan in a very tilty angle, What the fuck are you doing? Like, what are you doing, cameraman? So Venus obviously has his entrance, and then Venus makes a pun about Valentine's Day and how he has a heart on for the audience. God damn it, Val Venus. So Ken Shamrock comes out next, and he's like, I want this motherfucker right now. And he rushes to the ring, and he wants some of Val Venus, but Val Venus strikes first. And like Billy Gunn, because Michael Cole mentioned how he hates both of them, he was kind of like very I don't know if you could call him very biased or impartial during this match, but he was very slow to react at a lot of times during this match. Like, he was slow to react or disinterested because, again, as Michael Cole mentioned, he hated both of their guts. Like, especially in the very early portion where in the first pinfall attempt, he counted very slow for Val Venus. So once the action started to get to the outside, when Ken Shamrock was on offense, Billy Gunn got in the face of Ken when they were fighting at ringside, Ken Shamrock and Val Venus, and Billy Gunn told Ken to get back in the ring, and while they did, Billy Gunn obviously checked out Ryan's ass. God damn it, Billy. I know you're Mr. Ass, but yeah, I could see why you're Mr. Ass. So anyway, there's a lot of the middle portion of the match. Not too much happened, but it was where the ending that things got really interesting. So Ken Shamrock hits a DDT on Venus, and he was gonna win this match. Like, he had the 3 count. Let's be honest with you, but Billy Gunn purposely stopped at 2.5 or maybe 2 3/4, and that pissed off Ken Shamrock. And I'm gonna say this right now. I was gonna save this for my opinions, but Ken Shamrock was like spitting F-bombs all over this match, uncensored. That's how WWF got away with so many censors back in the day. I'm like, that's crazy. So, Ken Shamrock tried to win it with the ankle lock, but his sister helped drag Val to the bottom rope in front of both Ken and Billy Gunn. So Billy Gunn didn't care that Ryan literally helped drag Val Venus to the bottom rope. There was like, you're not okay. I don't really care. I'm not gonna eject you or disqualify Val Venus. Yeah, you can help. So Ken Shamrock wanted to confront his sister, and they get into an argument. Ryan slaps Ken Shamrock, and then Billy Gunn starts standing in the way of Shamrock, and when Shamrock pushes him, Billy punches him back and throws him back in the ring, and Ken gets fruit roll up, and Billy Gunn fast counts for victory in favor of Val Venus, who becomes the new WWF Intercontinental Champion. So Billy Gunn walks to the back, but he's met by Ken Shamrock attacking him for literally costing him the Intercontinental Championship. But as Ken Shamrock walks to the back, Billy Gunn recovers just enough to attack Val Venus, but that doesn't stop Val Venus from literally celebrating the Intercontinental Championship in front of the fans and, well, Ryan. So, I mean, the pre-match promo was actually pretty interesting. I thought it was going to be a very interesting match, but, I mean, unfortunately, the middle portion kind of dragged it down a lot. But I will say the beginning and end portions were what defined this match. Like with Shamrock, the beginning, where Shamrock his emotions put him at an early disadvantage. And actually, that was like the whole theme. Ken Shamrock's emotion actually ended up costing him the Intercontinental Championship, because at the end, when Ryan dragged Val Venus to the bottom rope, and Billy Gunn obviously not doing anything about it, Ken Shamrock literally was about to, like, I think he was about to do something to his quote-unquote sister. But Ryan obviously, like, backstabbed his brother, and Shamrock was obviously ready to fight back against Ryan, but Billy Gunn got the best of him, and, well, that's what happens when your emotion gets the best of you, Ken. So I like the storytelling from the beginning and the end, the middle. Not so much, but it's not bad. I think the storytelling was still good here, even with the slow in-ring portion in the middle. So next, we had the corporations China and Kane going up against D-Generation X's Triple H and X-Pac. So here, China, the ninth wonder of the world, the first woman to compete in a men's match at the time. So China was literally like one of the first women's wrestlers to actually like blow up in popularity. Like she was actually a symbol, like both in the ring and like she's actually hot. So China, who was a member of DX, obviously turned on Triple H after the corporation came out and cost Triple H his match against The Rock for the WWF title the night after the Royal Rumble by forcing Triple H to say, "I quit," unless he wanted to see China chokeslammed by Kane. But it was just a ruse, because China betrayed him after by punching him in the dick. You know, giving him that low blow between the nards. So China switched sides to the corporation for money and fame. You know, she wanted to get ahead in life. So she tried to make DX's life a living hell, with some mixed success in their matches. So this is what led to this match. And I will say that China's heel turn on DX, you know, it ended up being one of the dominoes to fall in, well, the demise of DX in 1999. So a lot of this match centered around China actually wrestling in this match. While she did wrestle, she actually showed a lot of flashes that she could hang with the boys, performing power slams, scoop slams, and former remaining Triple H and X-Pac, who sold her moves pretty well. Kane would do a lot of work this match, like blind tagging China, and you could tell like China was like, "Let me wrestle here, man. I want to wrestle." So Kane was just like, "Nah, I want to do this. Like, I have to do this." So that was pretty much a theme throughout that match. But after several minutes of X-Pac getting beat up by Kane and China, Triple H finally got the hot tag in, and the place was going wild. And Triple H finally had a chance at revenge on China, but it was quickly spoiled by Kane. But throughout the end of the match, X-Pac hit a Bronco Buster on China. That was kind of the funniest thing you see. And X-Pac hitting like this Bronco Buster in the in the corner. It was like literally him jumping up and down the air onto China. You know, I'm not gonna mention anything else there. But he was attacked by Shane McMahon, who was on commentary, but obviously the referee was away from the ring, and referees don't know what the hell's going on. And X-Pac and Shane like brawled to the back. So Triple H was all alone here for DX. And while Kane was still on the outside recovering, Triple H almost put away China with the pedigree. He was about to get his revenge. But Kane hit a choke slam and pulled an unconscious China onto Triple H to win the match. As far as in-ring work, I thought it was all right. I thought it was pretty good, but it was all about the storytelling here, and that was China wanting to prove that she can hang. She wasn't just a bodyguard for honestly anyone. She wanted to prove that she could actually wrestle in the ring, whether it was with the men or with the women. So impressive. It was a really good performance by China there, even if it was in limited spurts. So there was also some good another good story element here, like how Michael Cole kept bringing up how Triple H was probably emotionally hurt, like by China's betrayal, and he even mentioned that again when Triple H finally got in the ring and went after China. So this was a nice tag team match to set up what went on later at WrestleMania 15 between these two factions again. So next up, we had the main event match before the actual main event match, if you know what I mean. So we had the WWF Championship on the line with Mankind going up against The Rock in a last man standing match. So going into this match, Dwayne The Rock Johnson, obviously, and Mankind, Mick Foley, were Mick Foley's one of 3 alter egos. They were trading the WWF Championship in the last month, actually. So The Rock first won it in pretty much a repeat of the Montreal Screwjob from the year before at Survivor Series in November 1998 in that tournament. So he also retained it at the Rock Bottom pay-per-view when Mankind won at first, but Mr. McMahon reversed it when he deemed that The Rock never tapped out. He passed out. So that doesn't constitute as a win for Mankind. But Mankind finally won the WWF Championship on that famous January 4th, 1999 Raw is War. That's going to put some butts in the seats episode. But he lost it back to the Rock at the Royal Rumble again in controversy in an I Quit match. When The Rock played a recording of Mankind saying I quit, like from earlier in the evening, and then Mankind would win it again during the Super Bowl 33 halftime show in an empty arena match on halftime heat. So officials were like, you know what? We're tired of them playing hot potato. We need a definitive champion that can challenge either Steve Austin or Mr. McMahon going into WrestleMania. So we're going to get one at St. Valentine's Day Massacre in a last man standing match. So for the match itself, just like with the hardcore title match, there's a lot of brawling around the ringside. You got a lot of crazy spots, like Mankind hitting a DDT through a table, that Rock and Mankind throwing each other into the simple yet solid steel stage, like the solid steel stage, like curve thing. So later on in the match, Mankind tried to go for the people's elbow in the ring, but The Rock dodged it. And also later in the match, Mankind tried to pile drive The Rock through the announce table, but The Rock reversed it, and Mankind got backdropped head first onto the edge of the announce table. So that probably hurt a lot. But considering Mick Foley and his love for pain back in the day, yeah, he probably loved that. So there was a lot of times where they're just trying to knock each other out, because in a last man standing match, that's pretty much your goal, to not get up at the count of 10, pretty much like a boxing match. So Mankind tried to end this match with the mandible claw, but the ref was knocked out. Like, they accidentally knocked the ref out of the ring, and Mankind had to bring him back in. But the ending came when the Mankind and The Rock hit each other in the head so hard with steel chairs that they couldn't answer the 10 count. So yeah, the match ended in a draw, and that was that. And all I can say is, if that ending happened in 2021, wrestling social media would have crapped all over this match more than the crowd did back in 1999, when they were chanting bullshit, bullshit, bullshit. Like, wrestling Twitter was like, that was the worst matching ever. How could you do this, man? Like, this booking sucks. I'm gonna cancel WWE Network. Yeah, like, I don't know about that. Like, I don't know about that one. Like, but even then, like, without this weird ending, I thought the match stipulation, like, out of the previous ones, they did, like the empty arena, the I Quit match, I thought it was a fitting way. I thought it had a definitive winner. It could have been like a definitive way to end their rivalry. Like, whether it was The Rock or Mankind winning, but obviously we know that The Rock would want to win the WWF Championship back from Mankind, and then face Steve Austin for the WWF title at WrestleMania. Oh, spoiler alert. But anyway, so yeah, this was a fitting stipulation, because both of these men hated each other so much, and they put each other through so much hell in those last 3 months. But yet, this just felt like a false count anywhere match. Like, with all the, like, I get it. They hate each other. They put each other through hell, but considering, like, with all the crazier stuff we got in the halftime heat and the I Quit match, they didn't really do anything different in this one. Like, so the only thing that I did like, though, was The Rock. Like, when he was like, when Mankind was trying to get up, The Rock went on commentary, took over from Michael Cole, and he was just talking trash against Mankind until he got punched in the face. He got yeeted on, and then at one point during the match, before he got into the mandible claw, The Rock sang to the crowd. He sang to the crowd, and the crowd was actually singing with him. That's proved prior to, even before The Rock went on to have major superstardom. He was so over. He was so popular with the fans. The fans loved him. They were just waiting for him to get out of the corporation. Man, his mic skills, charisma, and obviously he's a heel, so arrogant. He was good. He was really good here, yet again. And Mankind was obviously a good foil to that. So, Rock had his moments, Mankind had his moments, but, I mean, the match was eh. But now we have the main event. Stone Cold Steve Austin versus Mr. McMahon in a steel cage match for a WWF Championship match at WrestleMania 15. So, why is Mr. McMahon exactly having a number one contendership match when he won the Royal Rumble a month, like, not even a month before, just weeks after he won the 1999 Royal Rumble match after just eliminating Steve Austin? Well, he announced that because he's not a full-time competitor, he would forfeit his guaranteed title opportunity against the WWF champion. Now, obviously, he would probably forfeit it anyway because, well, your WWF champion at the time was your fellow corporate champion, The Rock. So Mr. McMahon versus The Rock at WrestleMania 15? I'm not gonna face my corporate champion. Like, I'm not gonna do that. Or maybe I do. Maybe I don't. It's good shit, pal. Think about it, pal. So anyway, Mr. McMahon doesn't want to face the WWF champion at WrestleMania because he's not a full-time competitor. But the WWF commissioner, Shawn Michaels, informed Mr. McMahon that because he can't compete, the runner-up, which was Steve Austin, would take his place. So, Stone Cold, being that the rebel, the asshole, the ass kicker, what have you, the beerhead, the rattlesnake that he is, he used this latest McMahon failure to his advantage and lured him into accepting a match. And not just any match, but a probable ass kicking without any consequences whatsoever and with no help from the corporation. A steel cage match. And while obviously from history's past we've seen with steel cage matches, even though it's supposed to stop outside interference still happens. But Mr. McMahon went a step ahead and guaranteed Austin that no member of the corporation would get involved or they'd be fired on the spot. So we head into this match that most of you that have played WWE video games or have seen on like highlight packages or something but mostly WWE video games like have seen countless times. So we start the steel cage match, but not really, because Mr. McMahon, being the arrogant and cocky owner that he is, he makes Austin wait. He doesn't enter the cage right away because, well, he doesn't want the ass kicking. He doesn't want to get his butt whooped. And Austin, he doesn't want to wait any longer. He gets out of the cage and he chases McMahon around before McMahon smartly gets it in the cage and locks himself in. And Austin tries to get to McMahon from the outside, but he falls off the cage. But in reality, he's just baiting McMahon to come out. So he pretends he hurts his knee. Commentators are trying to hype up or trying to say that Austin may have hurt his knee, he might not compete, but McMahon comes outside, and then once McMahon gets even closer, Austin starts fighting him and beating him up, and he finally gets to kick McMahon's ass without legal trouble. And this is pretty much what happens throughout the rest of the match. I mean, Mr. McMahon has his moments of offense, but every time McMahon has a burst of offense, Austin comes right back to kick his ass again. So, after a lot of fighting around the ring, after throwing each other on the outside cage wall, Mr. McMahon tries to climb back inside the ring from the outside cage wall. And, oh man, that was a mistake, Mr. McMahon, because Austin bashes his skull into the top of the cage, and Mr. McMahon sells this so well. McMahon head bounces off, and McMahon ricochets like this. His head bounces off, and McMahon literally just bounces off the cage through the and drops down through the Spanish announce table, and it breaks. So 20 feet. He goes 20 feet off the cage, bounces off, and goes through the Spanish announce table. And that's a moment you'd often see if you played the WWE 13 or WWE 2K16. So, after McMahon gets bounced off through the table, they bring out the stretcher after this, and they tried to give Steve Austin a forfeit victory, but Austin wanted to finish his can of whoop ass, so after he cut a promo on wanting to finish his can of whoop ass, he goes after a stretcher riddled McMahon, and he's like, I want to finish this. I want to finish this now. And he brings him back into the cage, and the match is officially underway. So, Austin starts kicking his ass inside the cage, but as as Austin, pandering to the crowd, he starts to climb up the cage, trying to win the match, because back in the day, you couldn't win the match by pinning your opponent inside the cage. You actually had to climb up and win and escape the cage. Something that should still be a rule, or your only way to win. Escape the cage, not by pinfall or submission. But anyway, so the common theme throughout this match was every time that Austin would win this match easily, McMahon would literally lure him back in by giving him the bird. So this happened twice, and the first time that it happened, Austin continued to beat McMahon mercilessly, and he even got McMahon to bleed by throwing him into the cage wall so many times, especially on the time that he threw him to the cage hard. He made him bleed. So Austin finally had enough. He wanted to win the match, but as he almost on the second time he tried to win the match, when he was about to have his feet touch the floor, literally 10 feet, not even 10 feet, 5 feet below the floor, McMahon flipped him off again, and Austin came back in. This time gave him a stunner, and as Austin was taunting McMahon all of the ring, the camera was kind of shaking a bit because, well, there was a big hole being made, and, well, a certain giant made his debut, and, well, it was Paul White. Paul White, a.k.a. The Big Show, made his debut on this night and started attacking Steve Austin, throwing him into the cage wall, and everyone was booing Paul White, and Michael Cole was going batshit crazy. Look at him, he's so big. It's Paul White. And McMahon was like, yeah, you like me now, Austin? I got this big bad giant all over your ass. Yeah. And McMahon commanded White to throw Austin on the cage wall again, but this time much harder that he bleeds. But when White tried to throw Austin again, he threw him way too hard, and the left panel of the cage opened. It swung open, and Austin easily dropped down to the floor, and just like that, he won the match and got his WWF title match, which eventually became The Rock at WrestleMania 15. So if you're looking for the in-ring work rate in this match, obviously you're not going to get it here with this steel cage match between Austin and McMahon, because this was all about continuing this Austin McMahon rivalry and the storytelling that came with it. Because after a year and a half of torture, of Austin beating up McMahon, with Austin getting arrested, Austin getting into legal trouble, Austin finally beat up McMahon in a sanctioned, I don't know if you would consider steel cage match a sanctioned match, but nonetheless, he got to beat up McMahon in a wrestling ring with no problems whatsoever, and he enjoyed the hell out of it. And McMahon finally got, for one night at least, got what he deserved. And while it looked like it was going to be a one-sided matchup, Paul White, the Big Show, made his debut, and well, he still somehow made McMahon lose this match. So overall, this match was yet another storytelling goodness, full of storytelling goodness. But overall, that was St. Valentine's Day Massacre. It was not a bad show. But again, it was not a great show by any means, but it was, I would say, I don't know, good, like a decent, I'll say in terms of storytelling, good show to set up WrestleMania 15. For someone that hasn't got in tune, too in tune with some of the Attitude Era matches, wrestlers, pay-per-views, etc., this was a pretty decent show that would get me introduced to some of them at least. Obviously, one pay-per-view doesn't fully get me engaged in some of these wrestlers, but it gives me a good introduction to them. And the big thing here was the vignettes, the commentary, which back in the day actually explained in depth who these wrestlers are, and it was so much easier back in the day what their gimmick was, what their characters were. Nowadays, it's like we have to freaking rely on Google. Like, it's not our job, like as viewers, as casuals, or even the core or hardcores to determine what the hell these wrestlers' gimmicks or characters are. It's not like we're not supposed to Google it, or whether it's a character or who's this wrestler. It's the promotion's job to tell us who X wrestler is or what Y's character is. Okay? Even in 2021, in the internet age, it's still the promotion's job. That's why the wrestling is in the sad state that it is right now. Well, I don't know if we're ever gonna get those times again. But as for St. Valentine's Day Massacre, good show in terms of storytelling, but it was just the matches itself were from an in-ring standpoint. I mean, again, I'm not a big in-ring mark, but it was just okay. It was not the greatest, but it also wasn't bad either. But with that being said, thank you for tuning into this special Valentine's Day edition, or I like to call it Single Awareness Day edition of the Very Cold Lasagna podcast. I am your host, DylanLasagna. Make sure to follow me on Twitter and Instagram at Very Cold Lasagna, and make sure to subscribe to the YouTube channel for podcast extras, clips, and what have you, and turn on that notification bell so you'll be notified of each and every one of those when those go up. Make sure to listen to the show on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, and Anchor FM. And I hope you guys enjoyed this retro review of St. Valentine's Day Massacre, the Old Icebox. The Old Icebox retro review. A new fixture here on this podcast. So, until next time, keep that lasagna very cold in the fridge with your casual, cold, and dumbest take on the world of professional wrestling and sports. And I will see you all next time. Take care, everyone, and happy Single Awareness Day.